creating conversation. It's what we do on arrow.net, ARROE.net. We are unplugged and totally uncut with John Douglas.
Yeah, pretty good, thank you.
My goodness sakes, this book has finally come out, man. People are going to be talking about the pages that you have set free, sir.
Oh, thank you. It's a pretty good story. It's amazing. It's an amazing story.
How did
I've done like 15 books, but this is a pretty good one.
Well, how did you keep yourself mentally together in something like this? Because, I mean, as a reader, you just feel on the edge.
Yeah, well, if some of the people who read my other books will know, like in Mindhunter, or if they watch a Netflix series, even though the actor Holden Ford, he's portraying me, I nearly died when I was like 38 years of age on the Green River murder case, and collapsed in a hotel room. I was just so burned out, just flying all over the country. I didn't have the people to help. The program was so successful, but I didn't have the people assigned to me. And the assistant director earlier in the year said, John, I told him, I can't take this pace here. The volume of the work, the nature of the work. I mean, I need help. And he says, well, the Bureau, you got to nearly drop, before you get any help. Well, by the end of the year, that's when I dropped and ended up collapsing in my hotel room. And the agents, when they found me, I collapsed on a Tuesday. I told them, I'll see you Friday. We'll head back to Washington. And that night, I collapsed on a Tuesday, and they kicked down the door Friday. No. And I was in a coma, and the right side of my brain had split from and the right temporal lobe from the high fever, 104 to 107. And I'm a veteran too. I was going to be buried. They were making plans to bury me. I was in a coma for a week, came out of it paralyzed, and then had the Bureau was offering a disability, and I ended up saying I don't want any disability. And so I went through five months of rehabilitation, and you wouldn't even know it, today, and went back to work, and there was a ton of cases and people, but you have to train these people. You have to train them. Just like when I go down on this case, when a killer calls, I bring a person with me, an agent, to train them, and so it's difficult. And when you have your own family, it spills over into your own family. I have 3 children. And it could be hazardous to your health. Let's put it that way. There's so many people interested. I go out and do public speaking. There's so many kids there interested. Like this summer, I'm talking to 4 groups for 1,000 kids, and it's like CSI, all this kind of stuff. And I'm the keynote speaker. And a little bit of last year I started to show like crime scenes, and then the people running the organization said, and this was in a graphic, they kind of like, the children, they may be too graphic for them. These are kids like 16, 17, 18 years of age. I said, well, they're interested in this work. They see these television shows. This is what it's really like. They better not start majoring in criminal psychology or forensic psychology unless they truly know what it's about. So it's very rewarding. It has its rewards, just like this case that I write about has its rewards.
Well, Shari's family needed a dedicated team. I mean, and it needed somebody that was going to be in there and was going to persevere, that was going to push it a lot further. And here you are. Here you come, because you've got that dedication.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of interesting too, because they called me in after the second killing, after Shari Faye is abducted and murdered, and the killer calls the family, taunting the family. Well, first he's acting like he's real sympathetic, and like it was a mistake. I just wanted to have sex with her, but he's using a disguise, electronic disguise, to disguise his voice. Oh, wow. He tells the family he knows them when he really doesn't know the family, at all. But he makes the daughter write a last will and testament, which is horrific, where she knows she's going to die. This first victim, 17 years of age, and saying goodbye to her mother, father, brother, and her boyfriend, Richard, but he still keeps calling. He even tells the mother at one point how he kills the daughter, and then he starts focusing in on Shari, the victim's other sister, who's a couple of years older. Her name is Dawn, and starts communicating with her. And I'm brought down after he kills the second child, who's a 9-year-old, abducts this 9-year-old, and they can't find him. And when he does call, he did this with Shari too. He waits about 4 days, and it was really hot down there. And the reason he's waiting, I surmised at the time, he wants the body to go into advanced stage of decomposition, so it'll be difficult for us to determine cause of death, method of death, if she was sexually assaulted, things like that. And so after that second abduction, and we had already written a profile because the cops, they came up to us at Quantico, but now they want it, on site. And the other thing was he stopped calling, and we need him to call because the more he calls, we can come up with some kind of traps and trace on the telephone line. But in those days, you had to stay on the line like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm brought down there to work on that. Also, I ended up working with Dawn, the second sister, which was hard to do, and to convince the family that I need Dawn to be able to communicate with this guy, and I want to train her how to stay on the phone long enough to keep him on, because the longer he's on the phone, we are better chance of identifying him, and so that was a big thing. And the father, of course, was concerned. Well, John, is this guy going to come in the driveway and abduct my second daughter too and kill my daughter? I said, no, he's not the type, and we will take care of things. We will protect you and your family. So I go through all these different things through the book and come up with techniques to get the guy to call and try to get the guy to go to the cemetery. I do, and while at the house, I'm looking in the victim's bedroom. She collects koala bears, and I see one, a real tiny one, that I focus in on, and I take that, and I'm thinking ahead. I'm going to come up with a memorial service. I'm going to try to get the guy to go to the cemetery. We'll have it staked out, or at least we'll be copying down license plate numbers. And so I do that, and I set up this memorial service. We have a podium painted white and a photograph laminated on top of the victim, and the families are out there, and I work with an investigative reporter, and the investigative reporter basically what I would like her to kind of things to say in the article to get the guy to go, and she did all that. Had we not caught him the way we wound up catching him, we would have got him this way too. Because although she was very close to the road, which would have, from an investigative perspective, would have been better. She was further back, because it would be risk-taking on the part of the subject. But he did pull up alongside of the curb, and we got his number, as well as a whole bunch of other people's numbers. So had we not caught him the other way, we would then go through the license plate numbers, and we would find out that there's this guy, Larry Jean Bell, who has a history of obscene telephone calls when he was younger against children. Also, he was busted for an abduction of a girl, and got 5 years, in prison. And then they rehabilitated him, saying that sarcastically. They let him out, and he picked up right off where he started from. And so it's a heck of a case. A wonderful family, very religious, but just really wonderful.
When you put your whole entire self into a project like this, and I know that we talked about what happened to you, you were out in the coma and stuff like that, but still, it's almost like you're switching personalities. You can be the family guy at home, but when you get into a case, all of a sudden you're a visionary. You've got to see things happen before they even take place.
Right. Yeah. How do I say? You kind of like try to walk in the shoes of the victim, and as well as the subject, and really start creating investigative ways in your mind, non-traditional ways of what we can do, how we can identify the subject. Totally 180 of traditional, the J. Edgar Hoover way of thinking, and really traditional detective work is facts, man, just the facts, and you go with the evidence. But I'd be brought out on cases where I will reinforce an investigation or have to tell them to refocus. And believe me, it wasn't open arms in the early days. It was not at all, because even though Hoover died in 72 and I joined in 70, and I'm working now in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and we still had they didn't trust you. But by the time I retired from the bureau, the program was well on its way and highly recognized by police around the country as a viable investigative tool. And it's more than profiling. It's helping, assisting prosecutors, cross-examination strategies, providing information for search warrants, to, again, interview interrogation techniques. And a lot of that stuff I talk about in the book.
What's really interesting is that the way that you just broke that down, it shows that I can see why people are inspired to come watch you talk and to learn from it, because you are helping to change a future generation. You're talking about the 70s and 80s. There were no cell phones back then. You had physical landlines and everything like that. And
computers.
And you didn't have as much science behind you as they do today.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no computers, no fancy filing systems, and it was just memory in cases. And you're doing cases, and cops, just because you do a case, 2 years from now they may be calling you up on the same case. Now they have a suspect, and they start talking, and I say, well, you have to describe the crime scene to me again, because I can't recall. It's been so long. And then just the traveling around the country. I don't even know where you are half the time. Then I was doing, we started doing international types of cases as well. And the Bureau was really the last ones to really invest in us and accept us, it was like they, I think they thought it was like witchcraft or something. It was just so non-traditional. But here at the FBI Academy, we're teaching courses, and the police are really getting a lot out of it. And when you teach the class and they go back home, then they never thought they'd have a case where they could use this, and it's more than just homicide. It's going to be from rape cases, arson cases, bombings, product tampering, extortion. I've done public corruption cases on targeting, who you target, when to target, or you're targeting the wrong person in this group. This is the person you're going after, and giving the reasons why. So it's a lot, but like I said, it can be hazardous to your health, but I'm still alive and kicking and still working.
Would you call yourself a silent watcher? Because everything that you do, I mean, I'm a third-degree black belt. I know how I watch a crowd. I can pretty much predict what's going on. Would you too? I mean, you don't look at a normal crowd.
Yeah, I look at things that I look at, I just can't go through walking through a park and like a normal person goes through a park. I'm looking at potential dangers in a park. I'm looking for potential like disposal sites where someone, or you see someone wearing, jogging or walking through a park and has headsets on, not even aware of the environment, can't hear anybody creeping up on you, or I go to a shopping center and the kids are dancing on stage. I'm looking at the people in the audience who are looking at the kids, on stage, and see if I can see someone that has like an inappropriate affect in the group. And I train my kids that way. They reach the point in their lives where that would happen, and I look at them to say, I'm ready to say something to them about it. I personally say, yeah, Dad, we know. We see him. We see who you're looking at over there. Yeah.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more about you, John, and to give you a lot of love? Because, once again, your writing is just unbelievable. You teach the readers. It's almost like you let us become a part of the story interactively.
That's what I try to do. So, like I said, I have so many books, starting with Mindhunter, but it's all over Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or wherever your books are. Or they can Google or go to YouTube, and there's been documentaries on me. And I just did a 5-part series with Fox Nation. They have, you have Fox News National, but they have Fox Nation, which is, I did 5 cases there, like in a mini series. So it's I'm out there, and people are just interested in the profiling, the process, criminal psychology. I mean, this should be right up their alley, the kind of books that I write.
Absolutely. John, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Oh, thank you. I'll make a note of that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you, too.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
Thank you, sir.